Hi everyone, Valentine's is almost here and today I've got 12 different gifting projects to share with you. Everything from this Napkin Decoupage gift basket to really cool surprise gifts. I'm even making over recycled jars and candy boxes. All right, let's start with our surprise gift box. This is so easy to do, and for this project I'm using Mod Podge and fabric. I'm starting with a Dollar Tree box and I've cut down all 4 of the sides to create that exploding box. And then you can see I'm easily just trimming my fabric to fit with a little bit extra there, about a 1/2 inch that I'm folding over to create a nice finished hemmed edge. So you see you want it to go onto the box and to be able to wrap around to the inside. You want to cover the flap completely. We're going to do that for all 4 sides of the box, and we're doing that hem on each one, making sure that that is at the bottom lip. I'm going to glue all this down with matte Mod Podge. You could use fabric Mod Podge if you wanted to, but I find that matte works just as well for this project. Then I'm adding all of the Mod Podge to the flap of the box, and again doing this on all 4 sides, and then we'll just place our fabric right onto it in the center. And that hem that we did where we glued the hem down is right there at the bottom. Now we'll turn that over and add more Mod Podge and then add those flaps to the back and glue those down with Mod Podge. Just smoothing with my fingers. The fabric is super forgiving. These turn out so fun. They're so fun to make, but they're so fun to give. Everybody just howls when they open it. That sounds kind of funny, like a Valentine wolf howling. But yeah, they absolutely love it. They're so fun. All right, let's glue down that seam with more Mod Podge. And now we will do that to each of the sides. You can see both sides there. That's how it's going to fold up, and that's how it's going to open up. All right, now it's completely dry, so I'm going to go ahead and trim down those top edges. I had a little bit of overhang on each one, so we'll trim it and kind of pinch that to glue that down. Now I want to decorate the inside box, so you could just have a stuffed animal or something like that. You wouldn't need to do another box inside, but I thought, you know what, let's go ahead and add a little smaller box. So I'm using one of those Dollar Tree round boxes, and I'm going to use that same matte Mod Podge to decorate that with fabric as well. There's no real right or wrong way to do these. I'm using fabric, but you could use paper, you could do napkin decoupage. Really, it's endless. All right, now let's glue that box to the center. I'm just using hot glue. Press down just to make sure it's really secure. And you can see that I'm decorating my topper there. I'm adding gold ribbon and one of these Dollar Tree felt flowers to the top. All right, let's decorate the top of the box as well with more of those felt roses. Those come, I think, in a 3-pack from Dollar Tree, but they do sell out fast, so you got to grab them right when they get to the store. And clump those together, add some tissue, add some gifts, whatever you want, to the center section there. And then for the sides, we're going to use some double stick tape to add some candy. You just want to make sure that you're not adding the candy too close to the edge because you need to be able to close up the box. So we're just going to tape that down, and then you can see how I'm holding it, folding it, and holding it with my hands and putting the lid on, and it is all good to go. Such a cute surprise gift. Let's take a look at how we open it up. So fun. And look at the inside. All right, great, awesome surprise Valentine gift. Let's move on to number 2, which is our Valentine candy jar. And for this, I'm making a vase using a mason jar and fabric again. So I'm just going to trim that to size I love this all over heart. I'm adding my Mod Podge to the jar, and then I'm going to wrap the fabric around it. Just place that in the center, wrap the fabric around, and I'm pressing just so a little bit of that Mod Podge pops through the fabric, and then I'm gluing the flap down and just really pressing. I'm going to let that dry a second before I move on to the next step. Now we're going to trim off the extra, and then we'll be ready to glue and seal it down. So we're just going to trim the top. You can trim the sides, you can trim the bottom if you need to. Then let's add a bunch of Mod Podge to the bottom and just keep pushing and pressing that around to the bottom edge. You can finish that off with a circle piece of paper or felt or whatever you want. And then for our top, we're going to add the Mod Podge and tuck the fabric on the inside. Since we're not using real real flowers for this, I'm not really worried about it making waterproof. So this is just a decorative vase. Let's add some twine. Just kind of wrapping that around. Whoop, look, there goes my twine. Wrapping that around. Now let's make some of our candy flowers. These are Dollar Tree roses, just breaking those apart. Then we're going to take a skewer and skewer that through the center of the candy and thread the petals of the rose and the leaves back onto there. So that is in the center. Then just add a little dot of hot glue to secure that all together at the bottom. Look how adorable these flowers turn out. Now to wrap the stems, I'm using some floral tape, which you stretch to activate. It's kind of got a waxy finish. So just give it a little pull, that will activate it. And then just spin it around there, and that'll give it a nice polished look. I'm spinning and kind of pressing that tape as I go. Now we are all ready to add our candy roses to our vase, filling in with some other Dollar Tree roses and those little Ferrero shares were from Dollar Tree also. Look how sweet this turns out. A really great budget DIY. Next, I want to show you how I glittered these champagne glasses from Dollar Tree also. So go ahead and open those up and look at the cute hearts on there. I thought, you know what, let's add some glitter to this. So I'm just going to use some of the sparkle Mod Podge. I'm just painting that right onto the heart, and then I'm just sprinkling glitter right over that. It's just a little extra pop to the glasses, but I think it looks so pretty. Make sure you get the sides, and then we're just going to tap off and let it dry. If you wanted something that was a little bit more permanent, you would want to use dishwasher safe Mod Podge, and you would want to seal it and make sure it cures. Dishwasher safe Mod Podge is a great choice if you want to make a permanent look. But for this, I just wanted something fun and festive for Valentine's. Look how sweet this turns out. Such a great budget DIY. All right, let's do another upcycle. These are surprise tin can gifts. Look for a flat walled tin can, and you're going to remove the bottom. Give it a good wash, give it a good dry, and then you're going to stuff it with whatever candies you want and add some shred at the end. Now I'm using some tacky glue to glue the lid back on, just wiping that edge. Then I'm going to Mod Podge decorative paper around the can. And once it's dry, you can add trims, ribbons, felt hearts, whatever you want. Look how cute these turn out. Here I'm just adding some gems to that lip paper. And then open up your surprise can and look at these great gifts. All right, let's upcycle some jars. These are just some random jars, and we're going to do napkin decoupage on the lid. Clean the lids. I find that a little fresh lemon helps get rid of any of the smells, but make sure you thoroughly wash them. I throw mine in the dishwasher. Then I'm going to paint the lids with Folk Art Home Decor chalk. And you might need 2 coats for some of those darker lids. You definitely want to paint the lids a light or white color because you want the colors of your napkin to pop through. For this project, I'm just using Mod Podge satin and the top printed layer of a napkin. So go ahead and cut your napkin down, and then we're just going to add our Mod Podge satin there. I'm adding that to the entire lid, and then I'm just placing the napkin on top and smoothing with my fingers, very gently pressing down to remove any wrinkles, but also just to make sure it's secured. And I'm working around those side edges. I'm going to set that on a Mod Podge jar just to dry for a little bit of time. And then once it's dry, we will move on to our next steps. I'm going to trim as close to the edge as possible. We're going to be Mod Podging that down, so don't worry. You can go over the edge a little bit too if you want. It can easily Mod Podge to the inside lip. Go ahead and press and just add more Mod Podge and make sure that's completely glued down. It's really just as simple as that. I know for myself, I'm constantly looking at jar shapes and thinking, what can I upcycle this into? I did top coat a little bit more Mod Podge on the lids there, and that gives them that really beautiful finish and makes them very durable. Go ahead and fill your jars with candy or whatever you want, and then you can top them off with felt stickers, ribbons, bows, any kinds of decorations. These are great little gifts for girlfriends or people in the office or your neighbors. And I'm going to use some felt stickers on the top. And using some more of that baker's twine. I've got so much of that baker's twine, I just keep using it in all my projects. So sweet. I just think these turn out so adorable. Okay, next up is some giant lollipops. I apologize, guys. I thought I had a horizontal video of this, but we've got vertical here. So I'm using one of these big heart trays. This came from Hobby Lobby, and I'm taping down a bunch of snacks and candies, lip balms, little tiny gifts. You can put whatever you want on this, but you're just gonna wanna tape them down using either clear tape or some of those foam tapes. And then I'm adding a card to the center, and I'm going to turn that over, and this is a really sturdy paper tube, wrapping tube, and that is white, and so it just looked like the perfect lollipop stick. So now I'm going to put a cello bag around there and go ahead and give it a bow, and these I made for both of my girls, and they absolutely loved them. Such a fun Valentine treat. Look how cute these turn out. Go ahead and trim up those bows. And then I'm going to add a little bit of velvet ribbon. This was left over from another project. And you can see these giant lollipops. I would like to get a giant lollipop. Okay, here is another surprise gift. This one, I'm using 2 water bottles, so it's another upcycle. I'm going to go ahead and trim those down. And I'm going to trim slits into one, going halfway down the bottle, and the other one I'm not going to. So one has them about every inch going around, and one does not. So go ahead and wash and thoroughly dry those. Add some shred, add your candies, whatever you want. Small gifts. And I want you to see that I am putting that in our side that does not have the flex. So then the side that has the slits, we're going to push that into the one that doesn't. And you maybe have to wiggle it around for a second. And then go ahead and seal with some stickers, but only put the stickers on the non-cut side. Next, we're going to wrap that up in some cello. You could use some recycled paper here, whatever you have, and add some bows so it looks like a giant candy. And then I'm just going to trim off the extra there. Such a cute little fun way to do a surprise gift. Now, this is what it's like when you open that gift up. And then you just pull apart and wham, everything comes flying out. All right, let's do another upcycle. This is one of those famous little cookie tins, and let's turn it into a Valentine gift box. So again, we've thoroughly washed this out and thoroughly dried it, and we're gonna go ahead and paint over that top because we've got to get rid of that logo. We're going to use Folk Art Home Decor chalk. We're going to paint that over the tin, and we're going to paint that all over the top as well. For this, it did take 2 coats to get a good even coverage. And when it's done, it's going to look like that. Let's take a look at how we did that. All right, we're gonna peel apart our napkin. We're only using the top printed ply. And this one's got a nice big Happy Valentine's Day saying. So let's just go ahead and cut a heart shape out with just the old school kindergarten method, folding it in half. All right, that looks pretty good. I'm gonna mist this with a little bit of water, and that's just gonna help it go on smoother. And then we're going to add our satin Mod Podge all over the top of that lid. Just a nice thin coat, but getting even brush strokes. Then just placing the napkin right on top. Since it's a little damp, you've got a little room to wiggle it into position. And I'm sort of tapping with my fingers just to smooth out any wrinkles. When it's wet, you don't really get the air bubbles, but you might get a little bit of wrinkles. Now that it's dry, I'm gonna go in and top coat with more Mod Podge, and that will just seal that napkin down and make sure that it is glued down and also sealed. Now I'm going around the design with a spouncer brush and matching red paint, and that will just create a blended look and also be a base for where I do the glitter. So once I have that base of the red paint down, let's go ahead and add some glitter. So I'm going around the design of the napkin with more Mod Podge, and then it's just as easy as painting that on and then sprinkling the glitter on. And I usually do this in sections because you don't want the Mod Podge to dry out before you get to the next section. So do a little bit, add your glitter, shake it off, and then go ahead and continue Mod Podging around. I'm adding more glitter. This is chunky glitter. I kind of like that for the retro look, but you can easily use ultrafine glitter or whatever you want. Make sure you get those edges. Just sprinkling the glitter, tapping off. It's a little bit messy, but I do get all that glitter back into the jar. Now let's add some gems just to highlight our design. I'm using the same Mod Podge to glue those down. So I'm just using one of the detail paintbrushes, going in and adding a drop of the Mod Podge for glue, and then just adding some gems wherever I want to put them. There's no real right or wrong way to do this. You could use any kind of napkin that you want, but this is just a fun upcycle for doing a Valentine's Day basket. Go ahead and add a big sparkler there. And then just keep filling in with more gems. Flat back pearls would be pretty here too. You could use buttons, any kind of little fun embellishments. All right, now for the inside, we're gonna add some shred, and then let's fill up with all sorts of cute little bath and body products and add our lid. Such an adorable DIY, from a butter cookie tin to a Valentine gift. All right, next let's make over some candy boxes. For these, I have cut my paper to shape, which is that heart shape. I love this print, so beautiful. And I'm gonna just put on the back of that some Mod Podge gloss. You could use gloss matte satin, it doesn't matter. Just put a nice thick but even coat. It doesn't need to be too thick, not too thin though. All right, let's just say a medium-sized coat. Go ahead and flip that over, and we're gonna place it right onto the candy box. I'm getting that lined up and then smoothing with my fingers to remove any air bubbles. With the paper, you can sometimes get air bubbles. It's a little bit different than working with the napkins. So go ahead and smooth that out, and then we're gonna let that dry before we move on to the next step in general. But here I'm just demoing how you top coat. But if it was real time, I would normally wait about 15 minutes prior to top coating. Now I want to show you how we add a bunch of glittery effects to this using Mod Podge. So the first one is the Mod Podge Sparkle, and you can see it there on the pink flowers. This formula has the glitter already mixed in, so you can just paint over any design that you want. And it looks like white and milky there, but it's going to dry perfectly clear with a really light dusting of glitter. So just paint that over wherever you want. Make sure I get those little sides. Next is the Mod Podge Mega Glitter in Silver, and I like to use a 1-inch flat brush for this, and I'm just going to tap that along the edge, and we'll just tap it just kind of like almost like giving it a little kiss all the way around, and when that dries, that's going to create a silver glittery border. You could also put plain Mod Podge down and just sprinkle glitter if you wanted to. There's so many different ways that you can decorate these boxes. I'm just sharing these ideas, but certainly you can get in there and do any kind of look that you want. And when it's dry, it just gets that really pretty little silver border. Okay, next I want to show you one of my favorites, which is the sequin heart. And for this, I'm tapping a very thick coat of the Mod Podge all over the top of it. And you won't believe me when I tell you that these sequins just dry so cool on here. So I'm tapping the thick coat, and then I'm going to sprinkle the sequins all over this. These sequins come in this sort of Valentine mix. I think this bag was from Hobby Lobby. And you can just sprinkle them right on top. I love those sort of maroons and hot pinks all mixed together. Give it a good sprinkle. And then I'm going to tap down and just sort of press and make sure that those are all sticking down. You can see that I have a few that are on the edge, and I'm going to take my finger and just gently wipe that edge so that those either fall to the side or start to lay flat on the top of the box. And just make sure we press those, make sure they're all in there. Tap off a few. And this looks just so cute when it's dry, and those sequins are really secure. Okay, next up, let's do a Dollar Tree makeover. For these candy bouquets, I'm using Matte Mod Podge and Chalk by Fulcart. I'm taping off the top of one of those Dollar Tree candy buckets, and that will create that cute little blue scalloped edge across the top. Plus, it makes the napkin decoupage 1,000 times easier. So we're going to paint the front of the container. You could do this on all 4 sides if you wanted to, but I opted to just do the fronts. And make sure you paint going down the tape. Don't go painting up towards it, or else you won't get a solid line. You might get a little bit of paint slipping under there. So go ahead and paint that, and then smooth out your brush strokes. I want nice smooth brush strokes. For this, I did a pretty thick coat, so I'm not going to do a second coat, but you want it to be nice and solid white so that all of the colors of your napkin pops through. I'm doing 3 different ones of these, so I just want to show you the pink, the clear, and then the blue one at the start. So this works on all of those. Then for our napkin, I'm using a piece of tape to peel back the back layer. I'm only using the top printed ply. So I'm going to cut out my design. I just love this cute vintage napkin pattern. And then I'm using Matte Mod Podge to attach that to the front. So I'm going to go ahead and apply all of that Matte Mod Podge to the front of the container, or vase, I should say. And my chalk paint is very dry here. Then I'm placing my napkin right on top. If you wanted to spritz your napkin with a little water, that would work to help get rid of any wrinkles, but I kind of wanted this sort of vintagey look. So for here, I decided not to do my spritzing that I traditionally do. Go ahead and press with your fingers and make sure you get all of that glued down. Now before I do a proper top coat and before I trim off, I'm going to let that dry for a couple of hours. Let's take a look at some of these other adorable napkins. So this is one napkin that's got 4 different prints on it. So it's a lot of bang for the buck. Go ahead and get this little vintage Valentine one down. And then once these are dry, you can trim away the extra. So I just get a nice sharp pair of scissors and go along that edge. You don't have to be exact because we are going to go back over it with Mod Podge, and that will kind of clean up any of your lines if you have a slightly jagged edge. So go ahead and top coat and make sure you hit those edges. It looks milky here, but it does dry perfectly clear. Now for the inside, I'm going to fill it with a little bit of floral foam. Let's go ahead and just press that in there. And then you could do tissue paper around here or do fill. Make sure you do your fill down the sides if you haven't decoupaged the sides of your vase. Go ahead and mix and match your colors. And then I've got some more of those Dollar Tree silk flowers and some of those heart picks. I think those come out every single year. So we'll go ahead and snip those apart a little bit and add some tape to the back of candy. And for this, I'm using some skewers again. These ones are a little bit thicker than the kind that I use for the candy bouquet when I'm using the Ferrero Rochers and making the actual flowers, because this candy is so much heavier. You want a heavier duty stick. So go ahead and place that right into your floral foam. Just keep filling up your vase and then fill in with your flowers and smaller candies. I just love how these turn out. They're so cute. I'm giving these away this year to the ladies in the office at school. These would also be great stuffed with gift cards. Go ahead and add. Look how cute these turn out. And you can see they're all a tiny bit different, but they're loaded up with yummies and those cute sparkly hearts. Okay, next up is another Dollar Tree craft. This is that rope basket from Dollar Tree and some heart napkins. These napkins came from Home Goods, and I'm going to do napkin decoupage on a rope basket. So I'm using tape to separate the plies again. This one has 2 back plies. And then I'm just going to coat the entire rope basket with the Mod Podge. This is Mod Podge matte. And it's a pretty good consistency for doing the napkins onto the rope. I'm not a fan of the gloss. I like either the satin or the matte when you're doing a napkin on the basket. Here I'm just using a dry brush, and I'm dry brushing over it to try to get the napkin to go into the grooves of the basket. So pressing with my fingers and then giving it a nice heavy dry brush. That's what I call a chip brush. I'm not sure if that's an official term or not. I don't know if I picked that up from somebody else, but add your Mod Podge down with your Mod Podge brush, then go over it with the dry brush. And that really helps get those lines of the basket peeking through. And you can see that I'm doing this in sections. I did find that the rope dries out very quickly, so you want to work fast when you're doing this. So work your way all the way around and piece it together if you need to, adding another little bit of napkin here and there. And once it's dry, you can trim away the extra and go ahead and Mod Podge that to the bottom of our rope basket. And then you can take the other side and Mod Podge it to the inside of the rope basket. You could also cut it along the top edge if you wanted to, but I sort of like the idea of the hearts kind of flowing into the basket. Now I let this dry for about 30 minutes until I moved on to the next step. So go ahead and let that dry, and then I'm going to add the Mod Podge to the inside of the basket and just bring that napkin to the inside and add more to seal it down. You can see you can really press that down, push it with your brush, push it with your fingers, really get it into there. Now, once it's dry, you're going to be ready to fill with whatever you want. I'm using a little shred, and then I picked up some really cute Bath & Body and these adorable sunglasses up at the Dollar Tree. I'm just filling that in, and look at how cute this turns out. I would love to get this cute little DIY basket. Thanks so much for joining me today with these 12 Valentine DIY gift ideas. I love all the upcycling that we did, plus some of that really cute Dollar Tree ideas. I'll be back here next week with another fun project to share with you. And until then, make sure you have a crafty week, subscribe if you haven't, and have a great Valentine.